Hello friends, have you heard about ETF, Exchange Traded Fund? I am Guna Mathivanan. In this video, I will be explaining what is ETF and what is the difference between ETF, shares and mutual funds, right. So, before going into the explanation part, let us take an example. Assume Guna is having 1000 rupees in his hand and he wants to invest in share market. Now, he wants to invest in Jio. So, he is putting his money in Jio shares. When Jio makes profit, Guna is going to make more gain out of his investment. When Jio is going to make loss, when Jio fails, then Guna's investment will be at loss. He will be losing all his investment. So, when you invest in share market, the risk factor is very high. At the same time, there is a chance of high profitability also. We will take the second example, right. We will take a second case where Guna has no professional knowledge to invest in share market. So, he is considering something called as mutual funds. So, what is this mutual funds? In mutual funds, there is going to be one professional who knows all the nuances of share market, and he is going to collect money from various investors. Now, Guna is also going to give money to this fund manager and he will be investing in different portfolios. He will be investing in Jio, he will be investing in L&T, he will be investing in government bonds, government securities. In the first case, Guna was investing only in shares, one particular company share. In the second case, Guna is giving money to one mutual fund agent, right. So, this mutual fund professional is going to collect money from various individuals and he has all the professional knowledge, he knows the nuances how to trade in the share market, and he will be investing all this money in different portfolios. He purchases some shares of Jio, some shares of L&T, some shares of some government securities, right. So, what is the idea? Even if Jio fails, if L&T performs, then overall the loss can be minimized, the risk can be minimized. In shares, the risks are more. In mutual funds, the risks are less. In shares, the profitability chances are very high. In mutual funds, with respect to the investment made in share, the profitability is not that high. And also, after investing in different portfolios, the profit gained will be shared with the investors, but this mutual fund agent will take a commission out of the profit because he is going to invest on behalf of us, he is making us to gain some amount of money. So, for that service, this mutual fund agent is going to take a commission, right. But in case of shares, you directly put, you have the discretion to choose the portfolio where you want to put the money and you get profit directly. In mutual funds, you give your money to the mutual fund agent and he has the discretion to choose which portfolio he wants to invest. You have no say in it and he will take a commission for whatever service he is trying to give, right. So, now think about an option where the profitability chance is high and the risk is low. In shares, profitability is high, but risk is very high, it is not low, right, it is also very high. When you take mutual funds, the profitability is not that high, it is medium, it is average, and the risk is also not very high. To some extent we can mitigate the risk, but I am looking for an option where the profitability should be high, the risk should be relatively low and I should have the discretion to choose my investment. In mutual funds, I give the money to the mutual fund agent, the professional, and he will be putting the money in different portfolios where I do not have any say. But I am thinking of an option where I can choose my investment, where the profitability should be high and the risk should be low. Yes, here comes a solution called as ETF, which shares the characteristics of both shares as well as mutual funds, right. So, this ETF, what is this ETF? This ETF is a basket of stocks, right. In one ETF, you may find shares of Jio, you may find shares of L&T, you may find shares of Axis, you may find government securities, right. So, when you purchase this ETF, you are purchasing a basket of stocks. You can purchase the entire basket or you can purchase a portion of the basket as a percentage of the basket also, right. Let me explain the mutual funds, shares as well as ETF by taking a sweet box example or sweet shop example, right. Now, let us compare sweets with shares. Let us compare sweets with shares. So, Guna is planning to go to his home, right. Diwali is coming. So, he wants to purchase some sweets, like just compare this sweets with shares. Now, I just go to the sweet shop, I have no idea about the sweets. The moment I see, yes, this sweet is looking very tempting and this sweet is looking very chocolatey, without knowing about the sweet, I have 1000 rupees, I put all my money on these sweets, I may be purchasing this particular sweet for entire 1000 rupees. When I come home, I open, I taste, I don't like. When I don't like, everything is waste, everything is gone. This is the case of shares. Now, let us bring mutual fund example. Now, I have no idea about I have no idea about the sweets. So, which sweet to purchase, how much to purchase. Now, I give a money to the mutual fund agent and that person comes to the sweet shop. Remember, compare sweet with shares, right. So, that mutual fund agent, he comes and he knows, he has professional knowledge, he knows this wheat will be very tasty and this sweet can stay fresh for a longer period, right. So, based on his professional knowledge, he is choosing this wheat. He has all the money of investors, he has money of all the investors. So, he is going to have a good sum of money. With that money, he is investing, he is purchasing different sweets, right. So, with which he makes sure that majority of the sweets are tasty and people like it. Now, what is this ETF, sir? What is this ETF? This ETF is a kind of assorted sweet box. So, this sweet box has different sweets, like that ETF has different company shares. By purchasing this sweet box, I am purchasing the shares of all the companies, I am getting the sweets, I am almost getting different varieties of sweets, where some sweets may be more, some sweets may be less, that is different, right. This is a assorted box where the number of sweets or kind of sweets to be there in the box will be decided by the sweet seller. So, I choose the sweet box which I want and I purchase. Like that, ETF is going to be a basket of stocks. That is going to be different baskets. Whichever you like, you go and purchase, right. So, ETF, Bharat 22 ETF, it is an ETF made by the government. Government is having shareholding in many companies. In government enterprises, government is going to have more shares. Similarly, it also holds some strategic assets in the private companies. We all know that government has a disinvestment proceeds target. Every year government tries to sell its shareholding, it tries to make some disinvestment proceeds. We all know that this disinvestment proceeds comes under non-debt creating capital receipts, right. So, these disinvestment proceeds are used by the government in their budgeting process. So, for which the government, it tries to make a basket of shares. It tries to make a basket of shares, that is ETF, where you have shares of 22 different companies and that will be traded in the stock market like any other shares. If you want, you purchase the entire basket, or if you want, you purchase a portion of the basket, maybe 10%, 20% you can purchase, but whatever portion you purchase, and that portion will be having the shares of all these companies, right. So, we know what is the advantage for the investors. The investors, by investing in ETF, they are investing in many company shares. So, even few companies fails, if other companies performs, we get our risk is minimized, and similarly we are directly investing, there is no middleman, the commission amount is going to be for us, there is no one to take away that commission amount. So, the profitability will also be very high. But what is the advantage for the person who is selling this ETF? Let us say for example government, again we will go back to the sweet box example. In the sweet shop, maybe these sweets may not be that tasty, people may not purchase, people largely focuses on laddu or badusha or alwa. When the sweet shop sells these sweets separately, these sweets may not be sold, but when they group it together, in the form of a sweet box, everything is going to be sold. People who wants to purchase these sweets, they don't mind these extra sweets also. Like that, when government goes for disinvestment of the companies which they hold large amount of shares, when they want to sell the shares, when they sell it separately, for example, there may be more buyers for SBI shares, there may be more buyers for Bank of Baroda shares, but let us say Air India, there may be less number of buyers for Air India shares. However, if government puts everything into a basket, then even the non-performing shares can also be sold, so that the government disinvestment proceeds can also be very high, right? That is the idea behind this ETF. So, Bharat 22 ETF is the government owned ETF. So, ETF is something like shares which are traded in the share market. Here in ETF, we are going to trade a basket of shares, right? I hope the video was useful. We'll meet in some other video, right? Thank you.